All right, how's everybody doing today? I'm doing pretty good. And today I'm going to review the audiobook No Country for Old Men by Cormac McCarthy. And this book is narrated by Tom Stechschulte. All right. And recently I listened to The Road, and it was an excellent listen. Just a deep book, moving, definitely philosophical, a comment on humanity, and really liked Cormac McCarthy's writing. So I wanted to check out another one by Cormac McCarthy. And No Country for Old Men came to mind. I saw the movie 5, 7 years ago. Awesome movie, intense movie. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. So I want to check out the book, No Country for Old Men. And I can tell you, I was not disappointed. So I'll tell you a little bit about the book. It takes place in West Texas in the 1980s. And if you know anything about West Texas, it is barren land. I've been there at least once, and I can tell you, I remember driving for hours, and we'd come to a small town. I remember one of them was Valentine, Texas, population 14. They'll literally say it on the sign. And then you drive for a couple more hours, and it'd be another small town, population 23 or something. So it's really barren land. There are some towns. I think Odessa is mentioned in the book. But it takes place on this kind of barren landscape near the Mexican border. And there's really two main characters in the book. And one of them is Llewellyn Moss. And Llewellyn Moss is kind of a blue collar guy. He is a welder, a Vietnam vet. He has a young wife. And one day he's out hunting, and he spots what seems to be a bunch of abandoned vehicles. And so he goes very cautiously to this scene, and he sees that there are some dead bodies on the ground. And he starts putting two and two together, and he realizes this is a drug deal that's gone bad. And he's scoping around, and he's pretty nervous about it. And he knows there has to be a last man standing. In one of the cars, he finds a guy who's actually wounded but still alive. And the guy doesn't speak any English, but he's begging for agua, over and over again. And Llewellyn doesn't have any water to give him, but he continues to search around the scene, and he sees what appears to be a blood trail, which leads away from the scene. And he figures, that's got to be the last guy standing. And so he follows the trail, and he finds the guy, and he's dead. And beside him is a case, and inside the case is $2.4 million. So Llewellyn does what a lot of people would do and takes the money, runs, heads back home, and he tells his wife about it. I don't think she really knows what's going on. But that night, his conscience gets a little bit better of him, and he starts thinking about the man he left out in the desert who needed water. And against his better judgment, he decides to go back to the scene, bring the man some water. And so he does this in the middle of the night, and he gets there and he finds the man, and the man has been shot. So he knows somebody else has been to the scene, shot again, I should say. And so he starts kind of scoping around, and he knows he's in a lot of danger at that point. And he knows the decision he made was probably stupid. But he spots some people on the ridge, and from that point on, he's on the run, trying to escape people that want their money back. And there's a number of people that are after him, but one is a guy by the name of Shigur. And Shigur is a psychopath. This guy is a cold-blooded killer and doesn't have any conscience, but certainly makes a good villain in this book. So I want to tell you about the other main character. So it sort of follows two main characters, and it kind of goes back and forth. But the other main character is a guy by the name of Ed Tom Bell, Sheriff Ed Tom Bell. And this is the sheriff that is investigating the murders and drug deal that happened in his county. This guy is older. He's been around the block. He's seen a whole lot. And he's from the area, and his grandfather was also a sheriff. So he kind of has a lot of comments and reflections on society and changing society in this book, which adds a pretty cool aspect to it. But I won't tell you anymore. What I've described to you is probably the first 20 or 30 minutes of this book. It really has a lot of action. It's very suspenseful. If that's what you're looking for, you're really going to like this book. It's a little offbeat as well, but I enjoyed it a whole lot. Very, very good book. And so I wanted to read you a quote from the book just to give you a sense of Cormac McCarthy's writing style. Fantastic writer. And really enjoy his writing in The Road and this book as well. This book probably isn't as deep as The Road. The Road is more comment on humanity, but this one is really good and just kind of a suspense thriller. And here's a good quote. I believe it's from Ed Tom, as I remember. You never know what's worse luck. You never know what worse luck your bad luck saved you from. So that's certainly a good quote because you never think about things that way. You just think I had bad luck, but maybe the way the events would have occurred, your bad luck actually saved you from something worse. So that's kind of a interesting way of thinking about things. So I really like that quote. But I am giving this book 5 stars. The story was 5 stars, very engaging. Loved how it kind of went back and forth between characters. Just a very suspenseful story, and there's a lot of scenes, just West Texas spaghetti western style kind of scenes in the book. The narration, haven't talked about that, but the narration is excellent in this book. It is also 5 stars. Tom Stechschulte does a phenomenal job in this book, and he's actually also the narrator of The Road, but his voices are amazing. And his voice for Ed Tom I really liked in this book. And his voices in The Road were also really good. So very talented narrator. So definitely check him out. I'm going to check out other books that he narrates. He's that good. So I really enjoyed the narration there. And overall, I gave this 5 stars. No Country for Old Men is an excellent listen. So you're probably going to like this book if you like action-packed thrillers. You're probably going to like it if you're in the mood for spaghetti western shootout, West Texas, 1980s. This definitely is going to be your cup of tea. And you're probably going to like it if you don't mind some brutality. There's certainly brutality. There's cold-blooded killing in the book. So if that's not your cup of tea, you're probably not going to like this book. But it definitely adds a certain element to the book. I didn't mention this, but there is also kind of a dry sense of humor scattered throughout the book. Ed Tom is kind of cynical. He's been around the block. He has seen a whole lot in his day, and he definitely reflects on society, but some of the way in which he reflects on society is somewhat humorous. So there's that element as well. And this book's more straightforward than some of McCarthy's other works. Of course, I've only listened to The Road. That's the only other one at this point. But it's a little more straightforward than that one. I've heard that it's more straightforward than some of his other ones. I'm definitely, by the way, going to check out a lot more of Cormac McCarthy's works, his books. He's an amazing writer. I really like his style. And of course, if you like the movie, you're going to like this book. And I'll say one comment about the movie. The movie is excellent as well. It's 5 stars in my mind also. And this is one of those cases where I would have a hard time saying I like the movie better or the book better. Really, I liked both. There's a few differences between the book and the movie, but I really liked both. Both are 5 stars. So definitely would encourage you to check this one out. It's a good one.